What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome to another video. It's currently 3:52 p.m. on Sunday the 10th of September. Welcome to the weekly review. Hello to all my new subscribers. And yeah, I'm going to get straight into things. We've had actually we need to start with the weekly, don't we? We've had quite an expansive week, as you can see. We traded lower into this range here. And then from then on we've expanded considerably higher, running right through up to consequent encroachment of this wick. I'll just show you now, which is nice to see. And yeah, as if you were watching my videos last week, well, towards consequent encroachment, we haven't actually reached it yet. But if you were watching my videos last week, you'll know that as the week went on, I got more and more accurate, and that's because more information was getting given to me. And yeah, I had a pretty profitable week in general, and it's nice to see, again, some more movement happening in the markets now that it's September. So what am I expecting? Well, we have some relative equal highs here. This swing high, this swing high, and this swing high. These are all relative equal highs. So I'm anticipating price to want to draw towards that in the new week. So I can mark that out. And I'm just going to write that out as buy side liquidity, and I'm going to make it double thickness. I'm also going to move the text to be in the middle, just so that I can see it on all time frames. So we have that buy side liquidity resting above there. And then after that, we also have this massive fair value gap and the breaker block here, high, low, higher high, and then we break lower. So there's potential for price to want to actually draw into this breaker block, but I'm not going to be looking at that for now, as my next target, my next focus is definitely right here. It's this buy side liquidity. We do also have an implied fair value gap, sorry. If we look at the 50% level of this and the 50% level of this whole area should act as an inversion gap. But if we go to the daily, I believe there is a fair value gap there already. So I'm also going to draw this out, as this is a volume imbalance that I'd like to see get filled. That also just happens to be at the buy side liquidity we just marked out on the weekly, which is nice to see. So I'm going to make this orange. I'm also going to put it behind the buy side liquidity, center back. And I'm going to write volume imbalance. And I'm also going to move that to the right side purely because I don't want it to overlap with the buy side liquidity that we have marked out, although it still is, I guess. Let's put it at the bottom. Oh, I spelled that wrong, didn't I? Volume imbalance. There we go. Sweet. So what am I expecting? Well, now that we've had this massive expansion higher, in terms of downside, this fair value gap, I would like to see it get left open, as in having seen our price created this fair value gap at this swing high here. So we traded through it. If prices come back down here, if we are straight into it, I want to see the 50% level respected. Other than that, I'd prefer to see it left open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this, we'll make it like a pinkish. I'm going to call it a fair value gap. And I'm also going to mark out the consequent encroachment of it, which is the halfway point. And I'm going to find out 50%, which is here. And yeah, this kind of top-down analysis is the best way to frame your week, because again, you get to look at all the main PD arrays, because the daily and weekly are probably the most informative in terms of where price is likely to draw to. We'll make that dashed, and I'll make it red. That's consequent encroachment. And yeah, so if price is to come down, I want to see it respect that 50% level, and then from anywhere below this low, if we are straight below this low, I'd want to see higher prices, and then see us run into that volume imbalance and take out this buy side liquidity resting above these highs. So yeah, another bullish week incoming, I believe. Here's the 4 hour. You can see, we have had a break. We haven't had a full break in market structure. You can see, although we've wicked below this swing low here, we haven't closed below it yet. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if price does draw into that daily fair value gap, maybe touches with this high here, and then turns around from then on and starts to run into that volume imbalance. But another place that we should bring our attention to is the consequent encroachment of this wick. We should see how price treats that, 104.483. and that's because price might find support here. If price finds support here, then again, this is indicative of higher prices, because if you look here, we have taken out sell side liquidity here. I'll just show you now. So we've taken out stops below here, and we've taken out stops now below here. So it is possible that price may want to come back down to this consequent encroachment off the daily wick, and then, you know, expand off of that and run into, again, that volume imbalance. And we'll have relative equal highs. All this here is all liquidity that's getting built, that's likely going to get taken. But in terms of Monday and Tuesday, I would expect, you know, lower prices in terms of drawing either down to this consequent encroachment and maybe reaching into that fair value gap. But again, you know how it goes. It's better we wait for Monday to finish trading, and then we start to figure out where the rest of the week is likely to draw to. Now, let me just get my daily dividers up so we can take more of a deeper look at last week's price action, and I'll be right back. So here are our daily dividers. This was the previous week. You can see Sunday we opened. We created the low on Monday during the London session at 7 a.m. We then expanded higher. Let me just zoom in. This is an hourly chart, by the way. Expanded higher, came back down, touched the breaker. This is the breaker here. Low, high, low, low, break. Look how price respects the breaker. So we respect that breaker, and then what happens? We expand. Again, come back one more time to that fair value gap, and then Tuesday we have a large expansion to the upside. We then consult large expansion all during the London session, and then New York, it gets quite messy in terms of we do expand higher one more time, but we don't reverse. We continue to consolidate. Wednesday we continue higher again, taking out Tuesday's highs. Thursday we take out Wednesday's highs, and then from then on we retrace back slowly into the week, and then at the end of the week, right at the very end on Friday, we expand one more time higher. Now this is the move that caught me off, the expansion back higher at the end of Friday, which is why this consequent encroachment, which is delineated here, let's make this black and we'll make it thicker. This consequent encroachment, I have my eyes on this daily consequent encroachment. So let me just write daily consequent encroachment. And I'm going to just make a smooth line. I'm going to drag that out for the whole week, because I do want to see how price treats this level. Because remember, let me just show you on the daily, that this is the 50% level of this wick here. So again, price may want to come down in the new week, find support on that, and use that to then springboard higher, and you know, run into this buy side here, and obviously the buy side liquidity we have delineated all the way up there. And with interest rates next week, let me just double check the news. Yeah, so interest rates aren't this week. However, CPI and inflation rates are on Wednesday. So Wednesday we can expect a lot of price action, and that's going to be this day here. We can expect a lot of volatility. So I wouldn't be surprised again if Monday or Tuesday created the low of the week, so that Wednesday they wanted to expand higher. But yeah, again, it depends on what Monday and Tuesday do. And, you know, I usually don't trade Mondays. I usually wait for Monday to finish. And then on that Monday review, we have a much better outlook on the rest of the week. So that's everything for dollar. Yeah, just got my eyes on up here. And I want to see how we treat this consequent encroachment and see if we do want to dip into this fair value gap, which I believe we may want to. Because in terms of profitability, who's been profiting this whole week? All the buyers have been profiting. If you bought this week and you held on, you've likely been profiting. So they're likely going to want to, if we are to move higher, they're likely going to want to draw out all those profiting buyers before moving the market higher. Now we can also, I think, let's see this. If we look at the range of this week, you can see we have premium above this 50% level. Let me just make it thicker. Anything above this 50% level is considered a premium, and anything below will be a discount, because this is a range in itself, right? So we are looking for price to want to dip down into some kind of discount, which is why I had my eyes on the fair value gap, because it's below the 50% level, which means it acts as a discount, which is where we'd want to be looking for buys on dollar before the price pushes higher. Obviously, we're not trading dollar, we trade the pairs, meaning that GBPUSD or EURUSD, that's where, as soon as dollar's dipping into this area, if it does get down there, that's when we are going to want to be selling. But yeah, let's go to GBPUSD. And yeah, right. Let me just make sure. I'll do some back testing on there. Right, weekly. And you can see we had a very, very bearish week. Now, By the way, ICT has made a video on his reviews and outlook for the week, so you should go check that out yourselves. But you can see we traded much lower. This here, this price action, not very nice. You can see we gapped higher, allegedly. I don't know. Anyway, what I've got my eyes on now, this swing low here. In terms of sell side liquidity, I like the look of this swing low. If you go to, again, ICT's pointed this out in his recent video, so go check that out. But this sell side liquidity, I'm going to make it bold, and I'm going to move the text to the center, just like I did on dollar. I want to see if we can reach into that. We've got all this liquidity resting below this week's low, and we've just taken out this week's low. And what happens when we take out, this is important, what happens when we take out sell stops? There's always a run on stop. So we can, if we mark out this sell side liquidity, and I'm going to gray it out, like that, in terms of a premium, or in terms of, let me just show you. So I'm going to mark out the consequent encroachment of this wick, and I'm going to make this orange. And once we take out sell side liquidity, there's always a run on stop. So in terms of looking for where prices to retrace to after, since we've taken out the sell side, I now expect price to want to retrace to some extent. The consequent encroachment of this wick is seems reasonable to me. So let's drop down to the daily and see what we can find. Well, would you look at that? We have a beautiful fair value gap resting here. So I'm going to make that orange. That price may want to return to. And also this order block, now that we've traded through it, it should act as a bearish order block. Remember, when a bullish order block, which it was, gets traded through on the downside, it then should act as a bearish order block. So we can mark out mean threshold of that order block, and price should then respect that, considering it should now be acting bearishly. So these are all just you know, confluences and things and reasoning as to how I come up with my biases, and you guys should definitely be recognizing them yourselves as well. But more specifically, I like the look of this fair value gap and a potential return to this, you know, back into this order block before we then expand lower and run into this sell side liquidity rested here. In terms of targets specifically, I don't really see any imbalances down here. We might do on the 4 hours, so I'll look at that in a second. But in terms of the daily, for the new week, I'd like to see us move back up, trade into this fair value gap, and then find resistance and start to push lower, with the assumption that we are having higher dollar. Let's drop down to the 4 hour. Let's see what we can find. So you can see we traded through that fair value gap, traded away from it, and you can see we're just wicking up there every now and then. But yeah, I'd like to see price expand into that. Can price expand higher than this level? Yes, and I'll say that because there's like a short-term breaker here in terms of on the buy side. So low, high, lower, low, and then we've broken higher. So this here is a breaker for the buy side, and again, breakers act the same way as order blocks do, in terms of once you trade through it, it should then act as a resistance breaker, right? So when price comes back into this range over here, I know this is getting very complicated, guys, but when price comes back into this range, if we do reach up there, I'm expecting us to find resistance again. So all I'm looking for is, as soon as price trades above this swing high here, I want to see some kind of break lower, and then I'll be looking for my entry for the rest of the week to run down into the sell side liquidity. But first, I am anticipating a run higher, and Monday's likely going to show that, and obviously Tuesday, and then for the rest of the week with Wednesday being our CPI, I'd like to think that we can look for lower GBPUSD. Now, there is one thing I wanted to bring our attention to. I think it was this price action here, this in rebalancing. So if you watched my videos last week, you'll know I was pretty accurate in terms of where price returned to before turning around and moving lower. And the reason for that was because of the rebalancing. Now here, this low here, this low wick, let's make it white. So we have this wick here, and we have this wick here. This wick trades into this wick low, and then you can see we expand lower. So this is what I call a rebalancing. And when I highlighted that, before Wednesday, I highlighted that I want to see price trade up into this wick. The reason for that is because I'm anticipating that kind of price action in regards to a rebalancing. And you can see we did it here on the Tuesday, but then Wednesday we came into it during the London session, tapped into it, and then what happened? We expanded lower for the rest of the day. So that was some very interesting price action that I witnessed for the first time myself on a daily level. And if you look at this, you can't, this is perfection. If you look at the high of this, which is 1.25880, and then look at the open of this candle here, which is 1.21881. So we've traded now to the low, to the open of this candle. So this area as a whole has now been rebalanced, which is again pointing its hand to lower prices. I don't know if that made sense. I hope it made sense. But overall, again, I'll say it one more time. It's nice to see that we've got relative equal highs here. Price may want to dip into this fair value gap one more time. Again, would it rebalance with this potentially? And then I'd want to see us push lower into that south side liquidity. So yeah. Finally, let's look at Euro. How long have we been going? 15 minutes. So this is quite a long video, guys. We'll go up to the weekly. You can see Euro's been falling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. That's nearly 2 months. Well, that is two months. So obviously, I'm liking the look of this south side liquidity resting here for Euro on the weekly. So we can write out sell side, we'll make it thick, and we'll make it put it in the middle. We like it thick, don't we, guys? And then we'll also mark out the 50% level of this wick, because this is consequent encroachment, and I'd expect price to want to refer to this. So let's just have that delineated. I'll make it thinner, we'll make it red, make it dashed, and I'll put weekly consequent encroachment. And now, if we jump down to the daily, we can have a better look. Oh yeah, in terms of upside on here, 50% level of this wick. You'll notice I'm using a lot of consequent encroachments, and that's because there's a lot of wicks just lying around the place right now. So, but overall, you can see Euro's showing a significant amount of weakness, which is why it will struggle to make the high of the week in terms of it might not trade as aggressively higher as we're going to witness. So we also have an inversion. So there's this 50% level, but we also have an inversion fair value gap here. And you can see how we traded this week. We traded into that, and then we traded away from it. So I don't really want to see price return back above this level in general, to be honest. In fact, let's just get rid of this, because I don't anticipate price to want to go all the way up there. And I'm going to write inversion fair value gap, because this is a weekly. But I do, in terms of high target, in terms of upside on the weekly, I do like the look of this low. We might want to refer to that, as in price might want to trade to that. But let's go on the daily, and you'll see we have a beautiful fair value gap that I'd like to see us trade to. So let's delineate that. And don't get me wrong, price can trade up to the inversion fair value gap, but I'd expect it to find a lot of resistance there. So in terms of buy side, in terms of premium for Euro, I'd want to see us trade to this fair value gap. It can touch into the inversion fair value gap, but overall I want to see us turn around at it. So let me just mark out the 50% level of that, just so that we know where consequent encroachment of that resides. There we go. So yeah, you can see with let's look at the daily. Actually, we haven't fully looked at the daily. Last week, what happened? Starting with Monday, we traded higher, traded deep. Well, deep into the, not deep, but you know, we respected the 50% level off the inversion fair value gap, and then we have an aggressive move lower, and from then on we kind of consolidated towards the end. So yeah, I'd like to see if we can return back up to this swing low here, and then again see an expansion lower. But like I said, Euro's finding a lot of resistance in general. This is a breaker, low, high, low, low, high, low, higher, high, and then we break lower, right? Which means that this candle in general is now a breaker block, which is why I'm saying price can return into it, and why I do anticipate price to want to come back into it. So this order block I'd keep my eyes on, and this area in general above, like this red line especially, I'd keep my eyes on, because I anticipate a lot of resistance there, and then that would be where I'd want to be selling Euro into that south side liquidity, and potentially for that weekly consequent encroachment. And if it's moving crazy, it'll go into these lows here. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much everything. I'd like to say thank you for watching. These are some beautiful buy side resting there, so there's potential for price to want to reach into that value gap. But overall, that's going to be everything, guys. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to leave a comment if you have any questions. Join the Discord. Thank you to all my new subscribers, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.